Many thanks for staying with In Your Interest. India's stand on the West Asian war and then a parliament clash around it. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, he briefed both the houses on the government's position. He said India is clear when it comes to peace, when it comes to diplomacy, and needless to say, de-escalation. But the opposition says, nothing doing. A mere statement is not enough. The parliament is the voice of the nation. We should have been allowed to question that statement. Let's take a look at this. As the conflict in West Asia escalates with the United States, Israel and Iran caught in a dangerous spiral of violence, the ripples are now being felt right here in New Delhi. Today, the Indian parliament witnessed high drama and repeated disruptions over how the country should respond to this global crisis. The day began with External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar making a suo motu statement in the House. The opposition parties stormed the well of the House and demanded a full-fledged debate on the issue. And when the government refused, they walked out from both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. The government said the ministerial briefing was sufficient. The BJP accused the opposition of creating unnecessary disruption, and the House saw repeated adjournments because of those protests. In his statement, Minister Jaishankar made India's position quite clear. He said India is in favor of peace and urges a return to dialogue and diplomacy. India advocates for de-escalation, for restraint, and ensuring the safety of its own civilians. Now, the well-being and security of the Indian community in the region is our top priority. India will continue to work with the governments of the region, and our national interest, including energy, security, and trade flows, will always be paramount. On the other hand, opposition leaders, they reacted strongly. Rahul Gandhi said that the West Asian crisis will hurt India's economy and asked why the government is afraid for a discussion. Manish Tiwari said Parliament cannot function without debate, especially on a crisis affecting India's national interests. Shashi Tharoor asked whether this is the Parliament or just a notice board and said such a serious issue deserves a full discussion. Here are all the major stakeholders on your screen.
This round of conflict started on 28 February 2026. It has witnessed not only fighting between Israel and the United States on one side and Iran on the other, but also attacks on a number of Gulf states. There have been numerous casualties, including at the leadership level in Iran. At the very outset, government had issued a statement on 28 February expressing its deep concern and urging all sides to exercise restraint, avoid escalation, and prioritize the safety of civilians. At the very outset, government had issued a statement on 28 February expressing its deep concern and urging all sides to exercise restraint, avoid escalation, and prioritize the safety of civilians. We believe, and we continue to believe, that dialogue and diplomacy should be pursued to de-escalate tensions and address underlying issues. It is also imperative that the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all states in the region be respected.
The External Affairs Minister's statement does not cover all the concerns which are very germane to the situation in West Asia, especially questions pertaining to the safety and security of the diaspora, questions pertaining to India's energy security. So those are the issues which need to be debated in the House. After all, this is a supreme legislative body, and the world is in an unprecedented crisis.
The purpose of Parliament is precisely to take up the issues that matter to the people of India and to have a serious discussion on it. Just reading a statement without any opportunity to ask any questions, raise our point of view and our concerns, is not fair to the members of the House. We can ask questions about energy security. The oil prices have gone up very high today. We are worried about the shortage of gas in the country. There are many, and of course LPG prices were raised by the government just a couple of days ago. So there are issues affecting the Aam Aadmi in India that the Parliament would like to place on record.
दुर्भाग्य ये है कि विपक्ष यही नहीं जानता कि उनको करना क्या है। एक मोशन उनका पेंडिंग है जो अविश्वास प्रस्ताव उन्होंने स्पीकर महोदय के खिलाफ लेकर आए। अब उस पे चर्चा शुरू करने के लिए 50 लोगों को खड़े होकर शुरू करना था, लेकिन उस पे चर्चा ना करके वो नई मांग रख रहे हैं, एक नई चर्चा चाहते हैं। हमने इतना नेतृत्वहीन, तर्कहीन, तथ्यहीन विपक्ष पहले कभी नहीं देखा.
Well, so the Congress party says no benefit of just a statement. And the big question that we're trying to decode and ask on the show right now, is a ministerial statement not enough? When a global conflict threatens India's fuel prices and the safety of millions of its citizens abroad, does the government owe the parliament a full-scale debate rather than a one-way briefing? Does this kind of disruption in parliament weaken India's voice on the world stage at a time when the country needs to speak with one voice? Those are some questions that we're trying to ask. Dr. Dharinder Tayal, spokesperson for the BJP, Dr. Pooja Tripathi, spokesperson for the Congress party, with us here on the broadcast. I'm going to quickly get the snowball rolling here with the BJP spokesperson. Dr. Tayal, you know, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar today, earlier in the day, he said India is pushing for peace, India is pushing for diplomacy, de-escalation, all credible points, whilst prioritizing, and here's the main point, the safety of the Indians abroad. I think 67,000 Indians that have already been repatriated, they've been brought back home. But the opposition says that simply making a statement without allowing questions defeats the purpose of the parliament. Don't you think they have a credible argument over here? How do you respond to that statement?
Thank you so much. And the basic issue is that this is the parliament. And somebody one fine day cannot just get up and say, oh, today I feel like discussing this, so let's discuss this. It's not 10 Janpath. This is the parliament. You've given a notice, and it's a very serious notice, as a result of which the speaker is not in the chair. And suddenly you say, no, I don't feel like discussing that today, and you run away from there because you know that you are going to be routed. And you pick up another thing. So the basic issue is to disrupt the parliament. This is the same person who are talking about the parliament, who once said in 2023, he said, unfortunately, I'm a member of the parliament. That is the kind of pride he takes in being a member of the parliament. So having said that, I mean, and the government is not saying that we don't want a debate. The debate can be there. Kiran Rijiju said, sure, you give a notice and we can schedule it. But it doesn't mean that your sense of entitlement from the time of India's independence is such that since then everything has happened the way the Nehru-Gandhi family wanted it to. And why should it be any different today?
It was a suo motu statement. So, I mean, when, you know, somebody like Priyanka Chaturvedi or Shashi Tharoor, former minister himself, say that after the suo motu statement, maybe some questions, I mean, are they wrong in asking that?
No, so that is what I said, that the government in any case has come forward suo motu and issued a statement. You want a debate on that, there are rules of the parliament, you go by the rules of the parliament and there will be a debate. You cannot just come to the parliament and say, oh, sorry, did we give a notice of motion for a no confidence motion? Sorry, not today. Today I feel like discussing this. I mean, you should have some respect for the person who was in the chair, who is not in the chair because you gave a notice. Some respect for the rules of the parliament. It is not something that it is just up to you to come and do whatever you want. I mean, there have been situations before and the government is very willing to discuss. Although 26/11 happened, there was no debate in the parliament. The Iraq-US war happened, there was no debate in the parliament. So many more Russia went into Afghanistan, there was no debate in the parliament. However, having said that, the government still welcomes it, but the rules that the parliament is governed by have to be followed.
Okay, so you're basically saying that the due process wasn't followed. The government is not shying away from a debate, but let's follow the due process here. I personally, as you know, as a citizen of this country, I also think that, you know, due process needs to be followed. But in a situation like this, let's not compare this with the Iraq invasion. Let's not compare this with Russia's invasion in Afghanistan, because we're directly being affected. 85% of oil supply gets through the Strait of Hormuz, and with the Strait of Hormuz now being that choke point, it's directly affecting common households here. But you know, your points. Let's take this across to Dr. Tripathi. Dr. Pooja Tripathi, you know, the BJP spokesperson says that due process needs to be followed. They're not shying away from a debate particularly, and the government says that procedures were followed. The External Affairs Minister made sure that de-escalation and diplomacy and dialogue is the way to go. 67,000 Indians have come back. What more do you need? It was a suo motu statement. You wanted something as per the government's position on this war, and well, lo and behold, External Affairs Minister has given you that. Now, Why make him a target right then and there in the parliament?
Kabir, I want to correct my learned the party spokesperson because he put across some very incorrect points on the table. He said Kiran Rijiju has agreed to debate. Yesterday, a statement was passed that the External Affairs Minister will make a suo motu statement at the floor of the parliament and no supplementary questions, no discussions would be followed. That this was given to writing. And when you say you demand, we'll give you 16 MPs, 16 Congress MPs have given a notice in Rajya Sabha and in Lok Sabha too, saying that we to discuss the geopolitical situation that's emerging due to war in West Asia. Nothing. Government, this is parliament. Parliament is for debate. Parliament is for discussion. And something, a war has reached our backyard. A ship, an Iranian ship was sunk in our backyard in Indian Ocean, and there is a huge energy crisis. There was a bloodbath at the stock market, and you actually raised the LPG prices, and there needs to be a complete thorough discussion. Second point he made incorrect that there was no discussion when US invasion of Iraq happened. On 8th April 2003, after a 14-hour spirited discussion at the floor of Parliament, there was a joint resolution passed by, and let me tell you, it was headed, the government was headed by Atal Bihari Vajpayee, your leader Atal Bihari Vajpayee only. And that's where, when we say this is a major crisis, this will be impacting our economy, this will be impacting our trade, oil, basmati rice, Strait of Hormuz has been blocked.
No, you're absolutely right, Dr. Tripathi, but don't you think this is a sensitive issue right now? And shouldn't the political parties across the board unite in these times of, national interests?
For the national interest, Kabir, we want a discussion. What is the government's contingency plan? You stand there and External Affairs Minister said we'll talk about diplomacy, we'll talk about de-escalation. Have you publicly condemned an illegal takedown of a head of a sovereign nation? No. Have you publicly condemned a sinking of an Iranian ship? No. What is your contingency plan for the 9 lakh expatriate, the 9 lakh people who work in the Gulf country? What is your contingency plan if oil reserves are to be, because as government everything plans as per sources, government has enough for 20 days.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. You're raising all the credible points, Doctor. But you see, I mean, if it was the Congress dispensation, would you put your External Affairs Minister in the line of fire with these questions after a suo motu statement?
Kabir, we went for a discussion after 1962 war was happening at our forefront and we were losing on our end. We went for a discussion when nuclear deal was being signed. Congress never shied away from discussion. What is this? This is a parliament or a Man Ki Baat monologue. You come and you make a suo motu statement and you say no supplementary questions allowed. You are actually running a democracy or a dictatorship. No, we want a discussion because we want to know the ripple effect that this whole West Asian crisis will have on our Indian industries.
Dr. Dayal, what do you make of that? Those are some credible points. And I mean, these are facts nobody can deny. And, what Shashi Tharoor essentially said that, the parliament is not a notice board, and it felt like a notice board with the suo motu statement. And Kiran Rijiju's, official circular says that there is going to be no supplementary discussion. There is going to be no debate after the External Affairs Minister's statement. So, I mean, where is this? We're not shying away from a debate, but give us some time. When the opposition says that the parliament should reflect the voice of the nation, where are they wrong? And is the government underestimating? And this is the larger question that might come across. Is the government underestimating the actual impact of what's really happening in the Gulf right now?
No, absolutely not. If the government was underestimating the impact, the foreign minister would not be making a suo motu statement. Number one. Let's be clear on this. Two, did they give a notice against the speaker? Now, was that irrelevant? Why did they suddenly run away? Now, to say that, no, that we did, but now that has become irrelevant because we are going to lose, so let's come up with something else. Did they allow did they even listen to since they're so concerned, did they even listen to the speech of the foreign minister? No, they did not. Because permanently, the idea is to create a ruckus. Also, she's been asking what is the contingency plan? There is a huge energy crisis. A ship. Now, she very carefully said in the Indian Ocean because it was way outside the Indian territorial waters. So that is not our responsibility. So, come to that, during the Congress time, our energy, we had 16 days reserve. Today, we've got 74 days reserve, and that is a reserve because the oil is coming in every day. So that's a 74-day reserve that is there. So 2 months we are covered, and most of the experts don't expect this war to last that long because the US midterm elections are also there. So they don't expect that this is going to last so long. But that is permanently there with us, and it is being attempted to raise that to 90 days. So we would be comfortable for 3 months in any case.
We have those figures that came out of that detailed meeting on global oil supply as well. But Dr. Tayal, when it comes to international waters, so many times the Indian Coast Guard goes out there, helps the fishermen, helps the maritime sailors in distress. The IRS Dana was part of a Milan exercise off the coast of Visakhapatnam. I mean, they were our guests when something like that happened. But hey, again, do you think that when it comes to foreign policy, and the opposition is creating hue and cry that the foreign policy space is shrinking, we're letting United States dictate terms to us, then shouldn't we have a discussion? And if you say so, that in due time, due course, we should have this discussion, given the significance and the sensitivity of the issues we're dealing with, how soon do you think the parliament should discuss about this?
No, tell me this, between favoring one party or the other and looking after the interests of the country, which is more important? Obvious. I mean, this is very obvious. So the government is concerned with the well-being of the country.
Okay.
The Iranian ship wanted docking facility. It has been docked in Kochi, and Iran has thanked India for that. Right. So it's a tightrope.
So on the Libra scales, you're saying national interest was prioritized. Dr. Pooja Tripathi, I've completely run out of time here. Final 20 seconds. He says that national interests have been prioritized, and it's a suo motu statement. We will talk about it. There's a due process that's going to be followed. And what's wrong with the government statement? I mean, the government's position has been made quite clear. De-escalation, diplomacy and peace.
Kabir, the problem here is we have been standing on the giant's shoulders of the giant Jawaharlal Nehru, who, when world was divided into two major blocks and during the Cold War, he actually talked about not taking a stand, and that's where did our foreign policy of standing with the sovereign nations vanish in the terms of this Namaste Trump, Ab Ki Baar Trump Sarkar event and Netanyahu's event.
And Rahul Gandhi in 2023 went and said democracy is dead in India and Europe should intervene, US should intervene in the country. That is our sovereignty that Rahul Gandhi looks at, that he says democracy is dead in India.
I want to bring it to Rahul Gandhi. You guys have only one question.
Should intervene in India.
I've completely run out of time here. Dr. Tayal and Dr. Tripathi, many thanks for taking out the time. You've made your parties and your positions quite clear over here. While the war in West Asia continues to unfold, the debate in India, like you just heard, is now equally intense. It's about foreign policy, it's about transparency of that policy, it's about national interest and the parliament's role in holding the government accountable. How soon will we have that discussion? Well, only time will tell. For now, the External Affairs Minister has made clear the government's position: dialogue, diplomacy and peace and de-escalation, and the opposition says that statement is not enough.